I mean, the studio is our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Interesting, isn't it, Doug? The use of the word suspension in that proposed resolution, which is what Jessica was just saying.
Absolutely, and that, it's interesting because UN resolutions, it's easy to belittle them, right? You say that, yes, they're legally binding, but in many cases, countries end up just snubbing their noses at them, ignoring them altogether. But they are about massaging language, and the language does matter, as you point out. Now, as Jessica was reporting there, that original language, which essentially amounted to, was akin to a call for a ceasefire. And we know because Israel has time and again insisted it will not accept a ceasefire. And on the other hand, you have the U.S., Israel's closest ally on the international stage, saying, look, we're always trying. This was the State Department the other day. We are always trying to arrive at language that we can agree with. So they're trying to bridge that divide. And if language can do it, so much the better, because there's a real sense right now, perhaps in both sides. We might not hear it directly from Benjamin Netanyahu, but we're getting signals from perhaps within the military leadership, but also on the other side, even from Hamas, that we're not at the enough is enough point, but that perhaps, and I have to underline perhaps, they would welcome if there were some way they were given an exit ramp in the form, perhaps, of this UN Security Council resolution. And that wording, suspension, avoiding the use of the word ceasefire, might be exactly the type of language, say, after the holidays, when people are coming back and the pressure is mounting both in Israel and also in Washington, where Biden has said in the past few days that Israel is at risk of losing the support of the international community if it continues its, quote, indiscriminate bombardment. On both sides, there may be a desire, perhaps not explicitly stated at this point, to find that off-ramp, so to speak, and this could give them that ramp.
And another thing which is really important in all of this, Doug, is the fact that polls are showing that President Biden is taking an enormous hit with his ongoing support for the Israeli government.
Yeah, there's always latest polls, right? The latest poll is the New York Times Siena College, and it's a very respected poll showing his overall approval rating down 2% since July to 37%. But what's more interesting is the finer print. Hone in on some of the questions when it specifically is about his handling of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Only 33% approve of how Biden has handled it versus 57% who disapprove. That's almost two-thirds. That is a remarkable disconnect there. And Biden's very aware of it. He is reportedly quite peeved, to say the least. And he is basically giving his advisors marching orders to do something to start turning those poll numbers around. This could translate, yes, into more pressure, and we've seen it a little yesterday from Lloyd Austin when he was visiting, more pressure from Washington on Israel to scale down their war, to change the track of the war, to change the strategy. As Austin said yesterday, you don't want a tactical victory and a strategic defeat. And I think Washington is thinking the same way right now. Biden has his eyes on the 2024 election, and that is going to obviously change the calculus here. He's going to be ramping up more pressure on the Israeli leadership, especially the military leadership.